Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another prediction video. We missed last week's prediction video, but we still put our scores through. I won by 11 points to 8 between the Cup and the League games. JP got a correct score on the Galway Shamrock Rovers game. I got two correct scores, which was Athlone and Drogheda United and Waterford and Dundalk. So it's 142 to 133 overall. And yeah, we're motoring away, JP. But this week has some interesting fixtures, as every week does, JP, to be honest. And I'm going to start actually at the Brandywell, to be fair. And all of a sudden, this has become a very interesting fixture. Kind of those two wins for Shamrock Rovers have forced it that way as such, hasn't it? Derry are obviously second in the table in the coattails of Shelbourne, who are 4 points ahead. But Shamrock Rovers are suddenly now 4 points behind Derry City, and this is a big, big game all of a sudden. And if Shamrock Rovers were to win, they are in a title race because they'd be a point behind Derry City, and to say otherwise would be ridiculous at that point, because then you'd have to say Derry are out of the title race if Rovers aren't in one. But if Derry were to beat Shamrock Rovers, I mean, I feel like there's been a lot of final nails in their coffin, but this would surely be the final nail in their coffin. A draw would still leave it open, depending on the Shelbourne result, funnily enough. But very interesting game at the Brandywell. I'll let you call it first, but what are you thinking of the game overall?
Well, I think it's a case of both teams need to win, Keith. I think both teams now are at the point of where they need to start winning matches if they want to win the league. Because Shelbourne are going to keep dropping points. Um, so and I know both teams still have to welcome Shelbourne to Tala and the Brandywell. So this is a huge fixture in the context of the title race. I think if one of them lose it, I think you can probably say they're not going to win the league. But if one of them won it, you could probably say it's game on for one of them.
Even if Derry lost it, would you think that?
It depends on the result in Galway. I think I think if Derry lost it and Shelbourne lost in Galway, probably not out of it, but it's probably another kick in the belly for them.
Hmm.
Because I think there's been a lot of games this year where they haven't won and Shelbourne haven't won on the same night. And I think it's now time that they have to start capitalising on that. Look, we don't know what the result's going to be in Galway, but all you can do is look after yourselves. And that's Derry against Shamrock Rovers. And look, in the three performances this year against Rovers, I think only in one of them, which was the last meeting in May in Tala, that Derry probably didn't perform as well as they could do. I think the previous two, especially the one down in Tala early in the season where they conceded late on, and a deep end stoppage time, they probably deserved to win that game. The game in the Brandywell for the first 55 minutes, they were probably the better team. They had a goal disallowed. They'd hit the post a couple of times. Bowles made a couple of saves, and then Shamrock Rovers had, I think, three goals in the space of 6 minutes, and that's what Shamrock Rovers do. Like if you don't kill them off and you give them a sniff, they'll absolutely kill you, and that's what they did to Derry that night.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's a very intriguing game. It's live on RTE. Hopefully a big crowd. Hopefully Derry's tails are up after the win over Shelbourne last week in the cup. Um, we've seen how well they played as an attacking force, and we've seen that a few times this season from Derry. As I said, I talked about the two games against Rovers, the first two games against Rovers. They just couldn't find a way of killing them off. The second leg in Europe against Magpies, they were good going forward.
Hmm.
But I think the problem with Derry this season is I don't think you can pick out too many matches where 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 you could say, oh, they were brilliant going forward that day. And like I think what they did against Shelbourne on Saturday was they were good going forward, but they were solid defensively as well. And I think Andre Wisdom has been a brilliant signing. He was signed, he played it right back, but I thought when he moved to into centre back on Saturday, I thought he was even better in there. And it'll be interesting to see Ben Doherty how long his injury is going to be and whether he's back for Friday night. But I think if he's not, then I think that's probably the change is going to be Andre Wisdom's going to partner Mark Conley, and Kieran Cole will probably play left back and Ronan Boyce play right back. But no, it's a game I'm looking forward to going to, and Yeah, I think it's going to be a very good game.
Mm. What score are you going for?
I think I think Derry have got to the point now where they know they need to win matches.
Mm.
If they're going to win the league. It's basically win your 7 matches, you win the league is what it is. And I think I think we owe Shamrock Rovers one. Well, I hope we owe them one. Um, I I think the difference between Derry and Shelbourne this year is Shelbourne have taken 7 points off Shamrock Rovers, and Shamrock Rovers have taken 7 points off Derry. So I'm gonna say Derry to won it, but it's going to be a close game. I'm going to go 2-1. Similar to I think the League of Ireland have been advertising this game, and they were using the goal from Jamie McGonigal a couple of years ago in stoppage time, and I think it's going to have that kind of feeling about it,
Mm.
that kind of fixture, and that's why I'm going to say 2-1 Derry.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously Shamrock Rovers have won a couple of games in a row, but this is probably they're missing Green, McAneff, Clark, and Gaffney. That's the least injuries they've had all season. Gaffney, you barely count this season. McAneff hasn't really made an impact yet. I don't consider him a big loss. So they're at their strongest they have been all season, haven't they, to be fair? And obviously Danny Manders come in there. Jack Byrne was sensational in the game against Shamrock Rovers, by the way.
The
Um,
game against Shamrock Rovers,
huh?
he was sensational against Shamrock Rovers, was he?
Did I say against Shamrock Rovers, against Sligo Rovers? Yeah, four Shamrock Rovers against Sligo Rovers. Yeah, but yeah, um, Johnny Kenny, can give any defense issue with his movement and in general is good finishing and stuff like that. So it is a last chance saloon for them. They're coming up though against the Derry City side, who they've the best home record in the league, and I think it's fair to say most of their best performances, you called it out, even attacking performances have been at home this season against Bruno's, for example. Pats in the cup, I would suggest. Shelbourne there in the league as well. Do you know what I mean? They were all very good home performances. Now they kind of have to feel like they're going to have to go back to back now with that type of performance against. Let's be honest, they're probably coming up against the best team outside of them, certainly in the league, on paper, and as I say, really on paper, because they've got most of their players available. They still have a problem with the goalkeeper, I think, and even that was an issue in that performance against Sligo Rovers, believe it or not, even though they didn't concede, etc. But I just have a weird feeling though that this could be a big night for Derry City though. I think if Derry City win the game, I think it's a massive night for them. I kind of see it from your side as well. I just feel that there's something brewing. I remember that James McGonigal game as well, where he knocked Lopez to the side and ended up scoring the last minute and that sort of thing. I just have a weird feeling that even though Shamrock Rovers, I feel, are in form and they're ready, I have a feeling there's a big performance coming from there, and there will need to be a big performance in Derry City. But I do feel like it's there. They're not missing too many either. I know Dunnigan is a loss, but at the same time, it's him and Kelly really that's in, and Doherty possibly as well that are out. So I think there's going to be fire in this game. And I think Shamrock Rovers are going to have to go for it, and they will go for it. And I think that might lead to a very open game. And if you can get Duffy into those positions like he was in against Shelbourne, vintage Duffy, that type of goal. Adam O'Reilly has a lot of energy in midfield, etc. And you said 2-1, didn't you, JP? That's exactly what I was thinking, so I'm not deviating away from that. I'm going to stick with it. On to Dalymount Park and Bohemians take on Drogheda United, and maybe a few weeks ago, actually, this was a game I looked at a few weeks ago and said it'd be interesting where they both would be in the table, but you'd have to say, like, Bows are 8 points clear, Drogheda with a game in hand, and even a Drogheda win. Do you know what I mean? For me, it doesn't really drag Bows down there as such. Do you know what I mean? They'll want to not obviously lose the game, Bows, but an interesting one in terms of I suppose I'm forced with this as well. Bows had an easy enough cup win against UCD, and Drogheda likewise away in Athlone. Another game where I think there might be goals in it. To be honest with you, I think Bows are playing well. I think they look a better side than they were at the start of the season. I think both these sides actually can actually say they did very well in the recent window. When you had the likes of Ross Tierney, who's hit the ground running, to be fair, Dawson Devoy, Lee Kavanagh, and Smith at right back, who's stronger than any of the right backs they had before. That's a successful window. They're after upgrading in 4 positions, in my opinion, so that's massive. Drogheda, we've talked about them before in that regard. The two boys up front, Taylor and Pirro and how they've changed their system and how things are working for them too. But very intriguing game. Um, Bows are unbeaten their last 4 games, but they have played 4 Dublin clubs in those 4 games. So it's a bit of a running joke of mine, really, isn't it? But it is true. It's amazing how they seem to do well in those derbies. But they do look more of a team, and it's more settled. And you don't see a Jordan Flores playing centre back now, or you know what I mean, people that are out of position. So they do look more settled. Ross Tierney is genuinely playing really well, and he's such a threat breaking into the box and picking up pockets and scoring goals. Allows the void to play a bit deeper too. Again, a game where both teams not going to be missing too many players, certainly not too many key players. I I don't know. I think there'll be goals in this game, but I do think Drogheda might get something out of the game. Like Drogheda still have a lot to play for, probably more so than Bows in the league, and whatever about Dundalk's troubles, etc., etc. The fact of the matter is Drogheda are only a point ahead of Dundalk as we speak. So there's no suggestion that we can have an opinion that we think Dundalk are going to finish bottom. But if I'm a Drogheda fan, I'm obviously still a bit nervous about that. You know what I mean? You think you could finish bottom. But I think goals in this game, I'm going to go for 2-2 draw, I think, Daleyman Park.
Yeah, well, the head to head between these two is even Stevens this year. Um, they both won. They both won a game each, and then the last fixture was a 2-2 draw.
Was it
In
United Park, that one? Was it the
the
2-2
park,
draw?
yeah, or Weavers Park, yeah.
Yeah, or Weaver's
Um,
Park,
I
yeah.
think it's a case of if Bows win this, they could probably relax a wee bit and concentrate on the FAI Cup. If they lose it, they're they're still looking over their shoulder a wee bit.
Mm.
And as we said, like Drogheda, as you say, they're a point ahead of Dundalk. We don't know what is happening with Dundalk at the minute, whether they're going to end up in some sort of examinership or something that would result in maybe points being deducted. But as far
It
as
looks
Drogheda,
like they're going to get to the end of the season anyway. It's looking fairly certain at this point anyway. So
as far as Drogheda are concerned, they just have to concentrate and be one, just concentrate and think, well, we're 1 point in front. We do have a game in hand as well. Um, and we're 8 points behind Bohemians, although Bohemians have a game in hand on them. But if Drogheda can land a punch in this game and pick up both 3 points, then it might make Bohemians think a wee bit. But I think Bows will be they'll know that if they land the punch, then it probably condemns Drogheda to the relegation playoff at the very most, I should say, isn't it? So,
mm.
um, yeah, look, I think both teams are kind of they are where they are because they haven't been consistent this season. I think Drogheda have been very good since the July window. Like they've scored a lot of goals. They recruited well, especially in the forward areas. And yeah, I think there's going to be goals in this game. Um, but I'm going to go for Bows. They won it 2-1.
2-1 Bowls. Galway United and Shelbourne, another massive match at Eamon DC Park. And obviously, Shelbourne will be trying to get back to some form after a couple of results that haven't been great. I suppose they won't be pleased with the performance up in Derry, even more so than say the result. To be honest with you, they were well beaten. So this is an opportunity for them to get back in the saddle. Their games have been very tight against Galway, haven't they? Apart from the 2-0 at Tolka, there's been a 1-0 win at Tolka and there's been a 1-0 defeat at Eamon DC. And then you had the cup game, which went to penalties as well. Galway United obviously beaten at home to a stronger Shamrock Rovers side, but only in the last 10 minutes or so they were beaten in that game. 5 minutes actually they were beaten in that game. An own goal from Gary Buckley. They won't want to lose 2 in a row at Eamon DC Park. They'll feel that they can take Shelbourne on, in my opinion. Patrick Hickey got Player of the Month. Fair play to him. How are you seeing that one?
Well, it's been difficult for Shelbourne, hasn't it, against Galway this year?
Mm,
As you say, like they've met 4 times already this season.
mm.
3 times, is it? Four? Yeah, four.
For
Because the
one, the cup, yeah.
cup
Yeah.
but went all the way to penalties.
Mm.
So Galway haven't made it easy for them this year, and they've probably been one. one team that hasn't made it easy for them. For Shelbourne, domestically, it's one win and four, which was away to Dundalk.
Mm.
Um, and then it's just sort of flicking through, and yeah, then the cup game against Bray, like it's um
Even the
back in
cup game against Galway was a penalty shootout.
down the
Like,
shootout. So it's
yeah.
look, there's no, as Damon, I think was it Damon Duff said a couple of weeks ago, there's no team that is in form. And the only team that has maybe put a run together was Shelbourne, and that's what's keeping them top of the table at the minute. Um, they will want to get back to winning ways. Certainly, they'll be looking at the fixture to Brandywell and they'll be thinking, well, that's our opportunity to put a bit of daylight between ourselves and the other two. Um, but the other two as well, say Derry and Rovers will be looking at that fixture for Shelbourne and thinking, well, that's potentially a fixture that they're going to drop points,
Mm.
and if we win, then we can put them under pressure. Um, the head to head this year, it's in the league it's 2-1. They that's Shelbourne have won the two home games
Mm.
plus uh the cup game, which was a Toca, and Galway have won
Mm.
the uh the other
Well,
game again.
Shelbourne's first defeat of the season, actually. Yeah.
It was, and that was the game where Shelbourne fans weren't allowed at it.
Mm.
Uh, they um, but I don't think that was the reason why Shelbourne lost. I think Galway have been very good defensively, and at that point I think they were probably 8 goals scored and 8 goals conceded at that point of the season, like weren't they? But I think over the last few couple of months they've sort of started to be a
Mm.
wee bit more free flow. The goals have started to flow a wee bit more in the Galway games. Um, it's in Easy Park. As I say, Shelbourne aren't. The game against Derry, I thought they were a wee bit disappointing. I thought
Mm.
they would have been a bit more ruthless in terms of their defending, but I think you maybe probably give Derry credit that they didn't allow them. They Derry got at them and didn't let them get back into their shape that they like to be in. But I think Galway they beat Derry. They made it difficult for Rovers. So probably unlucky not to get something out of that Rovers game. When you look at the own goal, you'd wonder how Gary Buckley's managed to put that ball in the back of the net.
Great finish.
But um, that was a great finish if you're a striker, actually. Um, so you know what, I think Galway are going, and this is not my dairy head talking, but I think Galway have these fixtures. I think home advantage has
Mm.
paid off this year in these fixtures, and I'm going to go 1-0 Galway.
I think Galway will score. And from Shelbourne's point of view, the worry is I can't see Shelbourne scoring 2 goals. I still think they're decent defensively generally outside that Derry game. I know they talk about missing Malloy and Jarvis, and they have missed them, and they have missed Malloy, of course, as well. But they haven't conceded an awful lot of goals in their team, since he left. In their games, they've conceded one mostly, like, you know what I mean? Maybe not as many clean sheets, but their biggest issue for me is the other way, to be honest with you.
Mm.
And I think they've lost a bit of creativity and spark with Jarvis gone. Boyd hasn't been available for most of this time as well. At the very worst, he's been a good plan B where they can whip balls into the box and he can, score headers, make near post runs and score them type of goals. So they've lacked that as well. Like Manny Smith there the other week only got his first goal of the season against Bowles, for example. So they're lacking in that department. Also, they've been lacking in midfield without JJ Lunny, believe it or not, because the main thing is they only have Lunny and Coyle as proper central midfielders, believe it or not. Like, Caffrey's a good player, but Caffrey's not. Caffrey's a number 8. He's better in say a 3-man midfield. He makes deep runs. But when you have to have a discipline two, they're the only two they actually have, which is a bit crazy. So that's cost them a little bit and didn't help them out, in my opinion, the last game either. But
Overlap in that area as well.
yeah, but I do think Galway will score. They'll score somehow, be it a scrappy goal, be it a corner kick, a free kick, or something. You just feel they're weird because they don't create a lot of chances, but you always feel confident they might nick one here or there.
Very
And
similar to the Finn Harps, weren't they? Like
yeah,
you're
yeah,
always
actually,
confident Finn Harps were always going to score,
yeah,
but it was whether the other team could score two against them.
yeah.
I suppose the common denominator in that is Ali Horgan, like, isn't it really? But I
Mm.
think Galway have a wee bit more about them in terms of quality than, and it's no disrespect. the Finn Harps when they were in the Premier Division. They obviously didn't have the type of budget that Galway were able to have, so that's probably why Galway have a wee bit more about them. But
Yeah.
they are very similar. They remind me of Finn Harps when Finn
No, they
Harps
are. They're kind of like a
won
better
away.
version, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah,
Like, you know, that
yeah,
kind of like pretty much like I hope Ush
yeah.
isn't watching. I hope he is actually. I'll forward him the video. I think he'll finish 1-1. I go for a 1-1 draw, but Shelbourne fans may not be happy with that one. Finally, on the Friday, it's St. Patrick's Day and Waterford FC, and I'm always talking about how bad of a record Pats have against Waterford, particularly at Richmond Park over the years. No one has come to Richmond Park and got as many results as Waterford have. It's a strange one because most of the time Pats would be finished ahead of Waterford in the table. But this season, head to head, three times have played each other. Waterford have won twice at the RSC, and there's been a draw at Richmond Park. Um, I think it's fair to say and pretty easy to say that Pats come into this Waterford game in a far better situation than they came into any Waterford game throughout the season.
Mm.
One defeat in 10 in all competitions, three wins out four in the league, and there's no doubt that you can see Kenny's put a bit of a stamp on there. Waterford have struggled generally, although they good win at the weekends against Dundalk. Um, to be fair, to get them back on winning ways. But interestingly, I think a win, JP, for Pats here kind of brings them into the race. They probably have to win, but I think it kind of brings them into the race. It would only put them. Just trying to get the table up here. I've lost it now.
Yeah, they're eight behind Shamrock Rovers in third,
Yeah,
five behind.
yeah. I'd be looking more of them for fourth. Might get into Europe and might not, but realistically, they've a half decent chance of getting into fourth if they win this game. If they win this game, they're 2 points behind Waterford themselves with the game in hand. So they would be in the European race. If Waterford are still in the race, they would be. So it's a massive game at Richmond Park for Pats, I think.
Problem the problem is this year in the race for Europe is because of the final four, Derry's the only one in the top three.
Yeah,
It's left.
yeah.
That is the problem, and Derry have been drawn against Bows away. So if
Mm,
that had been Derry against Bows in the Brandywell, you're probably thinking a wee bit more.
mm.
Them teams are probably being a wee bit more confident that fourth place is,
Yeah,
is going to. But
but
as we know, it's never guaranteed. And like, um,
But if you're Stephen Kenny or Keith Long or John Russell or whoever it may be, you're pointing that carrot out, aren't you? At fourth place, because I think Shamrock Rovers will definitely get third anyway, in my opinion, and I've
yeah,
always thought that. So you're kind of hoping that you're in some kind of a. It's a good motivational tool, is what I'm saying for Pats, especially if they can get a win that Kenny can kind of keep things going till the end of the season. Your season isn't drifting
yeah.
necessarily, that kind of way. And
I think
I I'm first in this one, haven't I? I'm actually quite confident. I'm never confident to play Waterford. I'm confident Pats would beat Waterford on Friday, if I'm honest with you. I think they're better side than their position suggests at the moment. There's no doubt about that. And, we know they've got good players, but it's the way they're playing, the system they play. And, Mulroney and Elbazetti have been causing serious issues on the wing. Be interested to see who plays up front, though, Mealy or Keena. Keena's done okay. He's done all right, actually, in terms of hold-up play and stuff like that. Hasn't been amongst the goals. Hasn't missed chances, but which is strange because Pats have been creating a lot of chances. So you're kind of thinking to yourself, maybe you should be getting into better areas. But Mealy has been among the goals and scored a goal for the Irish underage side the other day too. I think Pats might have too much for them in this game, JP. I'm going to go 2-1 Pats.
I think if you're Waterford, Sligo, Galway, and Pats,
Mm,
you're just trying to pick up as many points as you possibly can to keep yourself in that race, and hope in 2 weeks' time that Derry beat Bohemians. Waterford have had the upper hand on them this year, but Pats are coming in much better form than what they've probably ever done against Waterford in the last couple of meetings.
if they can't beat them now, they'll never beat them.
Over the course
I
of
do see a very open game because you know yourself, Waterford generally like to play football and they'll come out, and I just wonder if that might play to Pats. It could be a good game, I think. I can see an entertaining game here too, actually,
like
regardless
like
of the
Derry
scoreline.
Derry Derry beat Waterford 4 times this season to nil. And the last game, the last meeting was probably the
Title.
hardest meeting Derry had against them. Um, but I think Pats at home will see an opportunity. They move within 2 points of Waterford, who are currently in that fourth spot as well. So yeah, look, I think Pats are going to win this game. And again, I'm going to say 3-1 to Pats rather than 2-1.
Quickly, before I move on, the other interesting point is this: people probably wouldn't even realise, but Pats have actually the third best home record in the league at the moment, believe it or not. Sligo Rovers and Dundalk at the showgrounds on Saturday, and thank God there's a game at the showgrounds on Saturday for a
Yeah,
start
yeah.
because I'm not going to go through the whole thing. We've seen it online. I've talked about in previous videos and stuff like that. But it's great news that it does look like Dundalk. At least they're going to get to the end of the season anyway. I mean, anything else, that's the best they could have hoped for. So, look, it's going to be difficult for them all the same, I think, because, they haven't been getting the results. They haven't been playing terribly the last few weeks, but they haven't been getting the results. They are bottom of the league, but, it's important for them now, knowing they're getting paid, etc., and they have been paid. It's important that they can kind of bury that a little bit and try and get on with the football and build on some of those performances that they have put in against the likes of Shelbourne, Pats, and Waterford even in the last number of weeks, and go to the showgrounds with a bit of confidence. Sligo, a couple of bad beatings recently for Sligo. To be fair, we talked about them still being in the European race, etc., etc. But I still think Nando Pinaker is a massive loss in that
Mm.
defence, and when they were off form, he wasn't there, and now that he's gone, it's not just that. It's his organisation, I think, JP, as well. They've got good defenders there, and they've got young
Yeah.
defenders there, but he's experienced defender. Do you know what I mean? And I think he's very good at organising that back line. And, I still think if they didn't have McGinty this season, they had a weaker goalkeeper, they'd be 7 or 8 points lower in the league, in my opinion, as well. That's a problem Dundalk have big time. Seems no matter who put
Yeah,
Dundalk
yeah.
put in goal, it's a serious issue.
I think Dundalk's
You're on
and
this first
Waterford,
anyway, so go ahead.
Dundalk and Waterford, and they've
Mm.
they've chopped and changed their goalkeepers over
I think
the last.
Waterford, though, at least they had Sargent and he was okay, but he's injured. But Dundalk
Yeah, but
have,
that's what I mean. Like,
yeah,
yeah. But I when you look at Sligo, their last two away games, it's conceded 11, scored 0, 7 at Drogheda, 4 at Shamrock Rovers. I know they went down to 10 men away at Rovers, like you touched on McGinty there, that he's been a big plus for Sligo this year. But I think when you look at his goalkeeping for the first goal last week, it wasn't Ed McGinty, was it?
no,
Like
I'd be a little bit disappointed with that
yeah,
particular one. I think, yeah,
he would I think he was trying to push it over the bar and just got it horribly wrong.
I think he got into a half and half situation in his head. I
Yeah,
think, didn't he?
yeah,
And done
yeah,
neither.
yeah.
It's like the cross come shot thing, isn't it?
I think he probably thought there was a wee bit more pace on the ball that he was able to do that where it was and it didn't quite materialize like that. But look, this is a game that Sligo will be expecting they won. Um, look, it's absolutely fantastic that there's a game taking place at the showgrounds. N- It's it's the integrity of the league as well, Keith.
Massive.
That it keeps the league the integrity of the league. It keeps that intact. The last thing you want to do is, as a Derry fan, and I said this to you in the chat on Sunday whenever it was starting to, the
Heat.
rumours were starting to boil. I said to you that I want the resolution for the good because as a Derry fan, I want to win the league, but I don't want to win it by Shelbourne losing points that they rightfully earned. And when we were debating what was happening on Twitter, a Shelbourne fan accused me of being biased, and it wasn't my bias. I was just pointing out what's happened in previous years with Monaghan and Dublin City, that the
Mm,
points that you pick up, they go,
mm.
and
That was the.
that's the
Mm.
reality of it. And look, it's unfortunate that if you pick up 10 points and the second place team only picks up five, it's very unfortunate. But it's the participation agreement, and look, whether the teams agree to it or not, they have to agree that they play, and whether they like that sort of agreement or not, it's there. They sign up to it, and look, I was accused of being biased, and I wasn't. I was pointing out. I was just pointing out the reality of the whole thing. But
God,
I
I've
think
never been accused of anything on Twitter, JP.
I think but Sligo, I think they've won their last home game 2-0
Mm.
against Waterford. And I think they'll win this game as well. Look, Dundalk they're going into the game. They're absolutely delighted that they're going to see the season out. What happens beyond that is anybody's guess. Um, but I know the owner, or sorry, the boy that's coming in to take over, he said he's not in the least worried of what's happening on the pitch. He's just more interested in what's going to happen off it. And I think that takes a wee bit of pressure off
Mm.
John Daly and the team as well. That the fact that he's come in with this attitude, that he's in here to sort out off the field, and whatever happens on the field happens. And look, the players won't use that as a get out of jail. They'll want to like get themselves out of jail and get that playoff place. If they can, if there's no points deduction that comes with the whatever happens with the new takeover. Um, but I think Sligo will win this because I think they've been pretty strong at home as well, haven't they, Keith?
Yeah,
Um,
I think
they're second behind
there you
Derry,
go. They're actually second.
second behind Derry. And I think Sligo will win this game 2-0.
Mm. I don't know, but there's no real logic here. I just have a feeling Dundalk will get something out of the game. I think in the last couple of weeks they've been a bit unlucky. They played a Pats team on form and should have had a penalty in the last minute, which could have got them a point. They should have had a penalty against Waterford.
Mm.
Both definite penalties, by the way, not given. Now they're one down, and you still have to score the penalty. I get that, but all the same, we're talking about two clear-cut penalties. They hit the post late on, and a chance cleared off the line against Shelbourne the previous week in a 1-0 defeat. So they've been very unlucky in results, and I just think if they keep pounding the door down, their luck will turn slightly. And logic would tell you that Sligo will win this game, particularly the showgrounds. Let's be fair, but I just have a feeling that Dundalk might nick something out of the game, and a point would be a great result because it's a point. Basically, it's a massive result, and who knows what happens elsewhere in the balls drop of the game. So
I think.
I'll go 1-1. Brilliant stuff, JP. We'll leave it there. Thanks very much. Guys at
Cheers,
home,
Keith.
let
Thank
us know
you.
what you think. Give us a few predictions. Subscribe to the channel, and good night. Thanks, JP.
Cheers, Keith.